Shalom, good evening, good morning. We are live. This is TMS Roundtable Global. We are streaming live from Israel, from Melbourne, Australia, and from Michigan, USA. I could not be happier with these two ladies. I'm telling you, I am the luckiest person in the world. My name is Dr. Tova Goldfein. I'm here with my co-host, Rose Hoy, who will introduce our guest tonight, and I'm so excited. Hi, Rose.
Hi, Tova.
Hi, Rose.
Hi, Kathy. Now, guys, calm down, and we're going to have a lovely disrupted session. Kathy has actually got MS, but
I do.
She has disrupted it.
I have disrupted it.
Yeah, she's pushed the boundary of it. Now, you know, all of you, or many of you know, that MS comes in many forms. Now, we're not saying anything about the different forms of MS, but what we're saying is that there is courage in human beings, and that courage came out in Kathy at age 22 when she got that diagnosis. And if she doesn't tell you the funny story about it, I'll stop her and get her to repeat it as she told it to Tova and I, because it's funny, tragic, and how would you put it? Sort of like at the bottom of the barrel, she found something.
But it gave
and
her
at
the
that
motivation.
bottom of the barrel, she got up.
Yeah.
And that's where many of our listeners have got back pain, stomach problems, headaches, etc.
Right.
Now, it does change the fact that Kathy had MS. But if you can take her model over to what your problem is and see that no matter how painful that shoulder is, you can move it and you can move beyond it no matter how painful it is, because that pain is telling you that that shoulder wants to do more than just be still and frozen.
Yes.
Or that hip wants to do something, and your inner self, those repressed feelings, are stopping it from doing it. So the pain, the suffering is a messenger. And Kathy brings that out beautifully when she tells us the story about her diagnosis. Over to you, Kathy.
Okay. Well,
Share
first
that part of the
off,
story
you
first.
all stress me out so much. I got to get a bottle of my Pinot Noir, and you can join me at that. But that's how I survived COVID. I don't know how you guys did. You guys have your tea and coffee. I'm getting my Pinot Noir first before I go anywhere.
I can't even say it. First of all, I can't even say it, let alone I can't drink it. But I will when I'm with you in person.
Thank you. It's my little glass of Pinot Noir at night that I enjoy. Well, let's see. Besides my glass of Pinot Noir, when I was diagnosed, it was way back. I had my first symptoms in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, and back then, you were given a glossy pamphlet that said, what would you choose? And it was like, I don't even know what I have, let alone what I'm choosing. And you were given a handicap sticker to put on your car.
Oh,
and
my God. I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
It was like, good luck, and you might see your grandchildren. You probably won't live that long. Rest, rest, rest. And that was the thinking at that time. And I just I couldn't get my mind wrapped around that. It didn't make sense to me. So when they gave me that and they told me the diagnosis and they said, feel free to go on a brisk walk or something like that. And I was like, I'm going on a run. Goodbye. Because I couldn't understand that. If our body needs movement, and look at what's happened to us this year with so much sitting in weird places, our hips and our body has suffered. If our body needs movement, how would someone that has an autoimmune disease, how would that be healthier or good for us to be lying down in a chair for the rest of our lives? It didn't make sense to me. So I know the funny story you're going to tell. You want me to talk about the run?
You tell the story, please.
How old were you?
Please note she was
diagnosed.
22.
Yeah,
Remember, she was 22 years old.
I
when
wasn't
was
listening. I'm sorry, Rose. I wasn't listening. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
22.
Go ahead, Kathy.
You get this
So that
diagnosis.
so you got
Yeah.
so like I said, you had the glossy stuff, and those were my first symptoms, and then you have to wait to get the diagnosis and all that stuff. And then I finally met my neurologist that I fell in love with, and I didn't meet him though until you have to go through hell before you get right to the good stuff. So I was invited to a MS support group, and I thought, this could be really good for me. I don't know that much about multiple sclerosis yet. My aunt that had it had already passed. And I thought, you know what, darn it, I'm going to put my big girl pants on. I'm going to go to this support group. I go and I was like, this can't be it. This is a scooter shop. Why would they have an MS support group in a scooter shop? So I'm in there, couldn't focus on anything except there are about 100 scooters as they're preparing us that this is going to be us someday. So my answer was, screw that. I'm out. I'm out. I'm going running again. So there was always that need in me, that courage that this does not sound right. And I don't believe that this will be the right thing. I have faith that they will find it out, that movement in our body needs more than lying down. And so that was the beginning of, I had a doctor, and I was telling Rose and Tova earlier that he was a great neurologist, and I would come up with these ideas of what I wanted to do. And he had these thick glasses, and he'd take them down, and I'd say, what do you think about a full marathon? And he'd go, no. And I'd say, well, why? And then he would have different patients of his that had tried to do the same thing I wanted to do come in, and wouldn't tell me. He was really smart about this. So he wouldn't always tell me that I'd be seated next to them. But then after a while, they would say something like, so I heard you're a runner. I'm like, oh, here we go. But it was very safe in a very kind way for him to show me if I get too overheated, if I push too hard in a movement that's not good for our body, right? Because there wasn't quite that understanding yet. We knew we needed to move, but what did that look like with autoimmune diseases? It didn't look like the rest of the world. I knew that I wasn't going to do my mom's Jane Fonda workout, and I was beyond that. But what did it look like with someone with an autoimmune disease to say, I'm going to push. My body needs to move, and it feels better when I move. So it was a lot of learning and a lot of research and developing.
Kathy, when you went, now please note, when she says a scooter shop, she actually means a mobility scooter shop, not the
I mean, like
children.
that.
The mobility one. Okay. So now, Kathy, can you actually, a little reflection as we spoke to you came into for you, and that was when you said, I'm out of here, someone stopped and said, have you heard about Dr. Rossman?
Yeah.
I think it was.
So this young,
just
this young man, kind of, we were looking at each other like, this is not a very good support group. I don't know who came up with this. So I caught his eye a couple times, and I got up to leave, and he stopped me and just kind of waved. Like, he said, I think we have similar spirits. And I said, okay. And he said, would you try my doctor? And I said, does he go to the scooter shop? And he said, no, he doesn't have anything to do with this. So found him. He was an amazing neurologist. He was very open to holistic, the multivitamins, the things that I felt strongly about, movement to a degree, but never being too afraid of me to put his glasses down and say, no to that. But yes to a sprint triathlon, because you'll cool down in the water.
Well, look at the godly players of the puppeteer. Like, we're going to take Kathy to that scooter shop so she can meet Dr. Rossman and fly, because I just would stop and say to the audience, we give our doctors a lot of power.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, you know, it's a great relationship when you can have that. And that taught you a lot, like to trust him, but to trust you. And he did the same things. He was like, trust your body. So tell us more. So you were able to do more than other MS patients.
Oh yeah, to the point where no one really knew I had it. But I was able to run. I would fall all the time, and I joined a running team. So this was really scary for me. But, you know, Tova, you've known me now a little bit, and Rose, you're getting to know me. But if you put a challenge in front of me, I'm going to take it. So I was like a running team. Okay. So one of the things that I read about was do something that you've not done before so that you can't compare your old self. Excellent. If that makes sense.
Very psychological.
Yes. So let's say I was a professional basketball player and I found out I had multiple sclerosis. That probably wouldn't be something I would go after again, because that would be a constant reminder of what I've lost. But what I did is I ran through high school because I played all sports, but I was never an endurance runner. I didn't do track or cross country. And I thought, this is movement, and why not try it? I never have done it. I'll fall. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Right. So
exactly.
So that's I decided you weren't scared to fall. So we're talking about fear, because fear. Fear is so much what stops us. And
absolutely.
It's way more than
I think you might have. Yeah, I think you might have been scared of falling, but you overrode it. Can you talk about that? Because it's not.
Yeah, and I have fallen almost every time. I went running tonight, and I'm doing a 5K on Saturday. And so I thought I better get some miles in. And, you know, you guys have met my husband. So he's running in the back of me, kind of like, okay, you're doing good. And I'm like, I got it. But then I did one little trip, but I didn't fall all the way. I'm good. But it's become, you know, with the running team and with my friends, kind of a joke. Bubble wrap her up. Let's get her ready. So I think having so many kind people around me made it easier for me to feel more confidence that I could do it. That, you know, I may not be the fastest runner, but that wasn't my goal. It was to complete it. And and
Kathy, was it challenging joining a team when you've got a disability?
Very much. And I would say, Rose, to that.
Talk about that a little bit.
The invisible disease, the snowflake disease, as we call multiple sclerosis.
Wow.
The scary part about that is when you can't see, when no one can see that you're sick, there's two things, right? I don't want anyone to look at me and say, oh, that's the sick lady, right? But I also need some understanding when I can't do something. But I found growing older with this that I do have to ask for help, and I do need to explain to people, because so many people do not understand what multiple sclerosis is, and they do want to know, but they don't know. And I feel that because I've been able to be high functioning, there's a safety in that where people can ask me questions. They don't, once they know, there's not a fear of maybe I'm offending her. Maybe she doesn't want to talk about this. She's in a wheelchair. She's already had enough happen. So for most people, when they find out I have it, they're stunned at first. And then they want to know, well, how? And how have you done this well? And I think, you know, this is another time, but I have a very big testimony and about what God's done in my life from a very young age. And And I knew that I had a purpose, and I knew that it was not to be taken out by MS.
Good. Well, it gave you an extra purpose, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I knew that I wanted to, once you get over and you accept that, okay, this is a battle I'm in. I think just my nature, I wanted to be able to help others. When I found something, research something, I immediately wanted to help others with it. And so it was like a no, not even a thought whether or not I would be certified with autoimmune diseases and to be able to train them and to be able to train MS patients. And it's so rewarding to see, I was training a woman this morning, and it was heels up, and she was frustrated. And it was just a little bit, because the only bad one is the one you miss. We're not missing today's workout. So we're just going to do a little bit, and that's awesome. It's that drive to push a little bit. And sometimes we get this idea, right, that if we can't go 100%, then we'll just maybe next time.
All or nothing. It's not all or nothing. It's not black and white. It's
No.
It's many shades of gray.
Pause for a moment and think about the fact that when you're a perfectionist and you want to do it right, if you're not going to do it right, you're not going to do it. And that's what you're actually confronting and disrupting, isn't it? The fact that if it's not right, so be it. It's a bit of work that you've done today, and that's all. Yeah.
It's the word disrupt. I love it in so many ways, but it is being willing to accept that if it's not working, will I disrupt it and change it to something that will work?
Exactly.
Am I willing to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is my health worth it?
Exactly. The other thing that patients find difficult is sharing stuff. And can you just sort of draw out the fact that feeling sorry for yourself and then other people feeling sorry for you brings shame or something on you? Can you talk a little bit about that so people can actually see that it's part of our trying to prove ourselves or something, and it sort of implodes, doesn't it, in some way?
Absolutely.
Can you explore that a little bit more?
I would say that, it would be the steps of losing someone, similar of grieving, right? So you find out you have this, you're shocked. Sometimes there's cases where people feel relieved that there's finally a diagnosis, right? They've been searching for this for years. And what is wrong? I know something's wrong, but nobody's finding this out. So getting the diagnosis for some patients feels a huge relief. For some, especially for our younger patients that are getting diagnosed, just crazy amount of young people getting diagnosed right now. I think for them, it's, I'm sorry, what? And so that's more, I find the younger generation much more willing to push because they haven't been given the stuff that, and I'm on the younger end of that time where it was like sleep, rest. People, 10 years, even 5 years older than me, the idea of exercise and movement for most of them is terrifying because that wasn't something that was ever talked about.
Promoted.
It was rest.
Yeah.
So I would say, Rose, to answer your question, it's a fine line between the pity party and the accepting what I can and I cannot do, and knowing that if I'm breathing, I can do something and I can do movement and I still have self-worth to give out.
Kathy, something else that occurred to me as you spoke, and that is that in the moment of not sort of knowing where to go, that strength came up to you. Yeah, and for our audience, if they realise or think about their resilience, that they had to suffer, childhood trauma, childhood mismanagement, childhood loss, bullying, all those things, and they've got that courage to do that. And then if they take away that I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me, then the
Right.
courage comes up, doesn't it? Like you going to Dr. what's his name? I can't think of
Rossman.
Rossman, yeah. Yeah. That courage in you is what I'm talking about. Oh, by the way, Kathy, could you just move aside a little so our audience can see that lot of medals on the back?
No.
Oh my God.
Oh,
That's
here.
how
Can you
many
see them all?
medals? Move again. How many medals?
Oh, here.
Again, yeah, the medals on your wall that you got.
Can you
Can you
see
see it,
those
or is
on
it
her
too
wall,
dark?
folks?
Here, I'll see. Can you? Oh,
Yeah,
look
it's
at
good.
him. Look
I see
at
it.
him.
Yes.
There
Amazing.
you are.
Amazing.
Those
that.
are all my medals.
That's the fight that we've all got
That's the
through.
fight.
Yeah.
And Kathy's proving it.
When
And
they
the
told
sign-
me
over.
I could not run or walk I had a very bad relapse about, I would say about 10 years ago, maybe 8. And they said I would never walk again. And I said, excuse my mouth, to hell with that. Don't tell me that. And I didn't realize at the time how bad my MRI was. I didn't know. It was still Dr. Rossman had not, for our audience who wouldn't know, Dr. Rossman passed away about 5 years ago. So that was a huge loss for a lot of us. But it was, now I lost my train of thought where I was before.
You were told you weren't going to walk. You had a
Yes.
relapse.
And they said, based on, again, I hadn't seen the MRI. So Dr. Rossman did some of his magic, and I woke up 2 days later and I thought, gosh, I think I could walk. And so I got up and I walked, and I had an appointment that day, and I came into the infusion center and I walked, and they all just sobbed. And I was like, what happened? What's going on? And then Dr. Rossman was crying too, and took me into the room and said, look at your MRI. Look at your MRI. You should not be walking. That God you pray to, I want to pray. We're going to pray together to him, because it was a miracle, and it was just a beautiful thing. And so, if I trip and fall, Rose and Tova, how can I be mad at that when I got a second chance to use my legs again?
Yeah.
So bubble
just
wrap
talk
me
about-
and take me out.
No, just talk us through tripping and falling, because that's a very interesting concept. Because that's the fear.
It is.
Not only have you got a fear of a lifetime crippled, but if I fall, how am I going to get up?
Getting up. And the people that are in back of you that are now you've messed up their run, because now they're falling because you're in a marathon, everybody's in back, and you've tumbled, and now it's like a domino effect, right? So I think a lot of it was getting past that. And the first fall was scary. The first time I fell hard, and then I thought, okay, that hurt. I don't want to do that again, but I probably will. And I need to accept that is a part of this. If I want to do this, I'm going to have the courage to do it and not be afraid of the falls.
Of doing it.
Because we know if we fall, we're going to get back up.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, Kathy, is there a way to fall when you're going down?
Yeah, I'm an expert. I'll show you next time. If you want to know, Rose, we'll do some falling exercises.
Okay.
No, I do that with the clients. I do it for them not to be fearful, for them to see that, because Dr. Schreibner, who's one of our colleagues, talks a lot about the experience of us falling is much worse than us falling. And then the fear of us falling, of course, is much worse. But what I want to chat about, which is a really important key, because again, Rose and I have been privileged to be, doing the show for over a year now, and we've met a handful of people with various conditions, and the few with MS that are dancing around have enormous purpose, and drive, and they develop that. Like, I'm not saying it's their personality, because we can all develop that drive, because it's hope. It's hope, whether it's MS Hope with Matt Embry or Dave Lyons. So Dave Lyons has a concept which I want to understand again. He's doing MS Optimal Fitness, and he's helping people with fitness. This is science, and science that if I think about walking before I take the step, if I focus on it with this like sort of shining light, can you say that more scientifically, what his concept is that helps people move?
Absolutely. It really is so I'll slow down, and really meeting Dave was so, my 2020 highlights, right? I have those on a board of like, you have to have those. I'm a big Post-it girl. So you give me a phrase and it strikes me, I want to post it. What I found so fascinating about David is that, I didn't know him. I knew some things about him, but I hadn't had a minute until 2020 to really read more about him. I actually thought he was someone else. So when I actually found him, I was like, now I know who you are. Yeah. So it was just very exciting to see someone that had the same passion, but also have the same ideas, but he had already developed it. And it was like, yes, and yes, and that, and that, and that. And I can't give away too much. You have to join Optimal Body. But I can just tell you, it works. And I watch it it's the idea of, now for me, if I'm feminine. So I will, with a client, and I'm training them, and I see they're anxious before we start, as you guys know, I'm not going to get a lot of movement, not good movement, right? Yeah. One of my counselors years ago said, how do you want to run your 5K? Well, or do you just want to blow past, go fast, take a fall, and be done? So I think about that every day now. Every day is a new 5K. What's my 5K going to look like today? So I think that that's how we have to look at those fears. There's going to be fears. How are we going to tackle that fear today? And exactly. Some days are easier than others. But with my patients, I say, it's our 5K today. It's our 5K. We can talk about it. I like to let them have a couple minutes to kind of breathe. So we do some breathing, get ready, and now let's begin. Yeah. Because to go into movement when your mind and your heart, your soul isn't there, not ready, then we're not getting what the whole purpose is. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't make any sense. So I really like to know my clients. I want to know, and that's a lot of the counselor in me and the pastor's wife in me and the stuff that I want to know what's going on before we start. Right. Did something horrible happen this morning? Is that crazy look on your face? Is that normal? Because I'll get used to it. Or did something happen that we need to talk about first?
So I'm going to interrupt you. Drink your tea. Take a sip. So basically, but it's like if I, that's phrase, it's like if I can conceive it, I can believe it, I can do it. So basically, in the nervous system, if I want to take a step, I picture myself taking a step, and I imagine, and I'm like taking the step, and then I take the step. I mean,
so what I'll do often, Tova, to answer that question is and you see this more now than ever because of everything that's happened through COVID. The attention span is just not there, right? For a lot of us, you can follow a train of thought and then it's gone. You're like, what happened? So what I try to say to the patients, the clients, is that, okay, what do we work? Stop. If they're going too fast, pause. What are we working? And I want them to tell me, what are we working right now? And then 9 times out of 10, they'll do something completely different. And I'm like, reset. We're working chest, not triceps. So let's reset, and let's start again. Now let's focus. What is our mind wanting to do? What area are we moving? Do we need arms? Do you want to use your arms? Yes. So now let's focus. Let's bring it down, focus, and now let's begin again.
Mhm. Amazing. Amazing.
Fascinating. Can I also talk about the fact that this myelin has been eroded off the nerves, and yet the mind can allow that area of the body that's been damaged to keep going. It's so awesome. It really is. It's so
fascinating.
Awesome.
So it's like you created a new neuro pathway that says I can function with the nerve. The myelin isn't there.
Damaged. Yeah.
But I can function because
absolutely.
Because who's the navigator? Who's the conductor? And if you want to call it God to the brain, like the pathway, and then what Rose and I talk a lot about is the pathway from the head to the heart. That's a whole nother show, but you've absolutely accepted yourself. You've accepted your condition. Like we all have accepted the monster under our bed. We've actually, what I tell, clients is you have to love the monster under the bed. Like anybody with fibromyalgia or anybody with cancer, they have to love it. It's like this, and Joe Dispenza is saying that,
right.
Bruce is saying that, Dr. Schrubener is saying that, Dr. Schechter saying that. It's really about self-acceptance. And Rose.
And that's a tricky thing, Tova, because if you're raised in the church, right, or a pastor's wife, I don't know how many we have on tonight. I don't know, 12,000, I don't know. But in that kind of scene, you don't talk about that stuff. I mean, you are not going to talk about your pain. That's a lack of belief. You're not going to talk about things like that. So depending on where you grew up, if that makes sense, how you grew up, what kind of religion you were in. I can think of some churches that if you were to say, I'm not going to name them, but going into seminary with my husband, I mean, it was to the point where you couldn't even check into a hospital unless you were using someone else's name. And I thought, what is this? And really sad, because that's not Christianity at all. But you have people that are very fearful of everything. But to admit that they're sick is a scary thing for them. And then to move in a place that they can do something, well, that would mean they have to admit it. And they're not ready for that.
Oh, so interesting.
Dear, oh dear. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ego of like, it's like a humility, and that's so God. It's a humility. Hey, I'm human. I'm having a human experience, and my immune system is compromised.
Right.
And I have the ability to, like we always say, where the sickness, where the pain came from, that's where the solution is.
Right.
God made the solution before the problem.
Exactly. We just have to have the courage to go in and find out what it is.
And go through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Kathy, what you're talking about is a social problem, a social construct, isn't it?
Yeah, I would definitely say that's a big part of it, is an expectation of, because you have the older group of people with MS, right? Mm-hmm. Now we have this huge batch of young people that have MS, but their perspective much different, because they're growing up with this in an era that exercise is told it's good for you. When we got it, it was, remember, glossy pamphlet, maybe a bike ride, a stroll. But now they feel they can conquer anything.
Not a marathon.
No, not a marathon. So, but it's very exciting to meet with them. You know, when I go in for an infusion, I'm just like, yeah, you can. And they see me, and then also, I never mind that. You know, they'll say, we have a new patient, and she's afraid. She or he's afraid. Do you mind? Are you feeling strong enough? And I'm like, do I have breath? Have you ever noticed me to not be chatty? So
Yeah.
I
Chatty,
enjoy
chatty.
that part of relieving. One of the cutest stories, if you don't mind me, was getting an infusion, and it was a daughter and a mom. And she came with her mom to get her infusion, and her mom was just not doing well. And so I sat with the daughter and I gave her all my information. And it was just a special moment, very tender, of the daughter knowing, I know my mom could do more, but she's so afraid to take the next step.
Kathy, when you say an infusion, is it plasmapheresis you're talking about? What are you talking about?
The
Because our
infusion that
audience
I'm
won't
on,
know.
I was on a medication called Tysabri for several years. And I had to stop taking that. And now I just started Ocrevus. So we are, we'll see. I'll keep you posted how this does.
Yeah. Do you feel,
And-
go ahead, Rose.
Yeah, no. And what sort of differences does it make for people?
I don't know yet because I've only had 2 half doses.
Okay.
I've researched it, as you can imagine, for over a year to decide what I was going to go on.
Okay.
I finally chose this one. The biggest things that I heard from patients that had done really well on Tysabri, like I had done, was I would feel a loss of energy coming off of it and going on to the Ocrevus. I haven't felt that. My husband says he's still trying to keep up with me. I ran today and he was like, could you slow down? And I was like, let's go. I gotta beat Tova later. So I gotta go. So I got Rose and Tova. I've got round table. Let's go. So I think it's your perspective, right? It's learning, like you said, laughing at things. Yeah. I do a lot of speaking, and I had shared that with you guys. As a pastor's wife, I did a lot with women and young adults and teenagers. And once I realized that cognitively things were not working up there so well, and I would look for the word and it wasn't there, and I learned, bring them in with me. I mean, I seem to have this rapport with them, and they're not looking away, they're not yawning. So I was like, we're going to play a game. Cognitively, with my multiple sclerosis and the rheumatoid and the other fun stuff attacking me, I may lose some words. So I'm going to count on you to help me with the words, and then I'll know if you're listening or not listening. And so it was a fun game. You know, it's like learning to have fun with your disability.
Yeah.
So falling in love, like you said, but learning to have fun.
An ability with your disability.
I like it.
Yeah.
That could preach, girl.
I think we learned that from a guy who was playing drums with his feet.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's something I remember seeing, and he had like his group was
a thalidomide guy or something, probably.
Like he didn't have hands, and so ability. Let's give it a different name.
I love when you do this. She does this to you, Rose, all the time, where she's like, we're right in the middle of something. She's like, let's give it a new name. And I'm like, wait, okay.
So wait a minute. I want to say something because I got some questions before the show, and I wanted to make sure that we answered them. So number one, there are people in a lot of pain, not so much with MS, but there are people with autoimmune disease, which is TMS, which is Dr. John Sarno's, tension myoneural syndrome. And people are in pain, and pain is scary. I mean, falling is scary. Pain is scary. Pick your scary. Halloween is scary. Pick your scary. But I want to know, when someone's in a lot of pain, I'm working on a lot of different ways to get into their heart and have them be like, so I can guide them through.
Right.
What would you say to someone? What would be your rapport about
When I start out with a patient or a client, I always like to know, I want to hear them. So I'm really listening for cues. And a lot of that goes back to, before pastor's wife, I've done so much counseling and therapy. And I want to hear a little bit about where they're coming from, because that helps me know what I'm getting from them. And when I get some pushback or I get some fear,
resistance.
exactly, then I have an idea of how they grew up, their siblings, their parents. And so you read a lot quickly and then kind of go from there. So, I can have a client on Zoom and she wants to go, 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 go and not stop. And she's on fire. My next one I could, push on and she's a mess and I don't think I can do it today. And so you've got to be willing to take that moment and calm them down and hear, listen.
Like what's going on in that moment that you feel so much fear.
And then it's amazing to me how it comes down. Just the ability to talk it out and now, okay, so this isn't as fearful as we thought.
Right.
So now let's begin. Right. If it comes up again, stop, we'll breathe again.
No. I always feel like I want to say, like, on the other side of the fear is a softness, is a calmness, it's going to be okay. And I want people to hear that they can deal with the fear, that it's just this concept, like they can deal with the pain. I mean, what do you say about that, Rose?
It's fear of failure, I think, that Kathy's talking about. It's not so much fear of doing the gym work that she does. It's fear of failing. And that would be related to they feeling that they've failed Kathy as well, or that they've failed the other people in their families, and then subsequently they've failed themselves.
Right.
So if we take that model, well, then we're able to see that, okay, yeah, fear is something that needs to be overcome, because the only fear that we need to have is if there's a saber-toothed tiger coming for us.
Exactly.
Otherwise, or we're trying to cross a busy road and the traffic's going all sorts of ways. Well, then we've got to have fear.
But the pain is so strong. What do I do with the pain?
Okay, it's not about the pain being so strong. It's about the fear of the pain. And because they don't have the traffic coming on, or a saber-toothed tiger, or whatever you want to, because this is an innate fear in us to keep us safe. So it's not a bad thing. It's an important component in our lives. But when we give it to other areas in our lives, like pain, like if you think about pain, like when a doctor's diagnosing a patient, they might have appendicitis, which is in the right iliac fossa, but the pain is actually showing up in the left iliac fossa. So therefore, why hold on to the pain? Better to look back and say to yourself, whatever is going on, that I need this pain.
Because Rose, what I would say, not to interrupt, but I would say to you that you're really giving the pain power, way more power than it deserves.
Good point.
Yeah, exactly. And the fear isn't belonging to the pain, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It needs to be split out.
Wow.
Split out. It's lack of confidence. It's perfectionism. It's wanting to do it right. It's being offended because someone else has hurt us and we haven't got the voice.
Wow.
And I would say to you as well that, whether it's rheumatoid, fibromyalgia, lupus, MS, all of the funds, it is, depending on when you were diagnosed, it's the losing of things. It's the ability to, you're doing your work that you've always done. And then all of a sudden it's like, how do I do this? Where did it go? It's watching yourself losing a little bit more and a little bit more as the years go by. And it is a scary thing. It's a real fear. And so my advice to my clients and patients is your health is extremely important. Your movement, all of it is together. You can't separate it. You know, I would say it would be like my healthy clients coming to me and bargaining. I'm going to go out this weekend. I'm going to have a little bit of party time. I'm clubbing it. And then I'm thinking, where's anybody clubbing? But that's for another day. So if they're doing that, if I do that and I work out for 4 days in a row, is it all even? Well, we know health-wise that's not true. We can't do that because that's already messed up our body when we do something like that. And so I think, gosh, I'll have to use my math. I think it's a night of out drinking. You are, it's about 2 to 3 days before your body can begin to function, movement in the way it would normally do.
Wow.
So think about someone with autoimmune, with an autoimmune disease, especially all of our young people getting it. And with all of this that's happened, thinking, what is the relief? Alcohol and things like that. So we see a lot of turning to things that help the quick, right? The fast, quick
fix. So you're saying, you're basically saying that, look, I believe in balance. You know, I will say on live show, I told my kids, if you want to smoke a joint, you know, smoke it with me, like come to me and we'll do it together. Like, I want you to understand balance. And because all of it's out there, and, you know, marijuana is now helping people in pain, which, you know, I have people who get only relief with a couple of drops of CBD.
And I hear that a lot. And I always say, unless you're going to get a gallon and just like go for it, like, what are you doing? Have you researched it at all? Or did you see an Instagram influencer with a really cute body say, I like my CBD, you should get it? Like,
no, it's about balance. And I believe this is another great insight that Rose and I teach is it's about balance. You know, it's not all or nothing. We're right back to the perfection, right back to the gray area. It's about, you know, the middle ground. And I think once we understand, another thing about chronic pain is when people know themselves. See, they know themselves a certain way. They get chronic pain. They're like, yeah, but that's who I was. Like, but you're evolving. Who are you now that you've created this situation to grow? It's not to stop.
Right.
You know, the people that we've all met who have overcome conditions there's like a softness.
Yeah.
They're just, you know, I last week we had this wonderful woman on our show who
I saw that
helps people with pain from menstruation and all sorts of
very
things.
interesting.
Yeah, and you know, she has this thing on her website. She calls herself the medicine woman. You know, softly, like go softly. And even for me, who's like you, like I'm a little bit much sometimes, like you, but I love you for that and love me for that.
What's she saying, bro?
Just to soften up,
really very offended.
Lighten up, like to soften up because our enthusiasm and our drive, and you know, I can.
I thought that's why Rose is on.
Yeah, Rose is
to calm us down.
Rose is my glass of wine.
Oh, right. Not the what is it? Fragrance.
And no, and I'm her little bit of you know, a little bit of like you know, fire. We just create that balance.
Yeah.
But before Rose talks, I want to say one quick thing. Another question came in, and it was a gentleman that is he doubts so much that he can get better. There is so much doubt. You know, we have a colleague who has a show called Crushing Doubt, but there's something deeper. It's a fear. It's a perfectionist. It's a fear. It's something deeper, but it's hard. We're having, you know, it's like, I feel so much like I want to just shake him and say, wake up.
Right.
You know, and it's something I keep learning because Rose and I learn a lot from, you know, our clients. And look, we do say that. Sure. We do say that when the student is ready, the teacher will come.
Yes.
But what would you say to somebody also who's just so doubting they can get better? They're just so low.
You want me to answer that, or you
I
want?
want you to answer that, please.
I would say, well, I find that a lot. I mean, I really do. And I think from the time I was 19, I was working with young girls. And we'll talk more about this, and I would love to, because I think it will help a lot of our younger people. What I love so much about, I'm getting there, I'm spider webbing, I know it,
Okay.
is I've always loved this in women's groups and in groups where you've got, I've got a 19-year-old and a 70-year-old. And what depth do you learn from each other, right? I mean, with all the age groups, I've always loved that. And, I learned so much from the women that have blessed and taught me. And yet I learned so much now from my younger girls, my trainers, and the girls that are, in their 20s. And they're like, can I help you with your eyeliner? And I'm like, what's wrong with it? And they're like, it's like down here. And I'm like, it looks good to me. They're like, but you can't see. And I'm like, okay, well, fair. But I think we can learn a lot from each other. And so when someone's that fearful, I'll take a second, and then I think this would be a different time for us to do. I grew up in a very abusive home, alcoholic, very, very abusive. And so there were a lot of fears in my life, fear of everything, walking down the street, leaving my home, leaving my brother. He was younger. I always felt that it was my job to protect him. So I think it's understanding where that person started, because we can't go anywhere unless we understand the root of it, right? Or we just keep putting Band-Aids on, and we know that doesn't work. So understanding the root of where that fear is, is it from childhood? Is it parent or being bullied, or we're a sibling? Where did that come from? And then we can begin. Because there's a lot of the MS clients and patients that, in any of the autoimmune, that until we get there, we can't move forward, because it stops the progression of them getting better, because they're holding on to this anger, hate, bitterness. My joke with my kids growing up was, get out of the bitter barn. No time for the bitter barn. Out.
For the what?
The bitter barn.
The bitter barn.
They don't say that in
okay.
Australia?
Barn. A barn. Barn is where the animals live.
Yeah, where you store your whatever. Yeah.
Farmhouse.
And I'd say, out of the bitter barn, kids. We don't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you work with Rose? How do you work with some of your, your clients when there's just so much doubt that they're worthy of getting better? It's such an interesting place,
That's very common, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the most important space from my perspective is to see the struggle that they've had and have empathy for themselves and their struggle, rather than criticism. And, notice every time they criticize themselves.
Yes.
And it's so insidious. It's sort of all over the place. I shouldn't say this. Why did I say that? So, where's your heart that you don't sort of notice it? Your heart is hurting. Every time you criticize yourself, it's another little stab to your heart. So, yeah. So, the other thing is that going back to that whole idea of self-care, when you have got grief and sadness for your situation, that actually focuses you inward. And many of our patients are always focused outward. Grief and sadness is a space to go in and allow that sadness to come up. All the talk is about anger, etc. But anger is discharging out or penetrating in. But when we've got grief and sadness, we're actually taking care of ourselves. I'm not talking about melancholy or depression. I'm talking about that sense of deep sadness that I've had to put myself on this tightrope
Right.
all my life. And now I'm going to notice that I'm on the tightrope. If that sort of, like that self-love, self-care
Absolutely.
is sort of like superficial, whereas that deep sadness and grief for having to walk that tightrope. And as Kathy says, if you've grown up in a household where there's all these little wounds happening and you're afraid of going out because your brother may get into trouble, or he may get beaten, or he might get humiliated, that is very, very deep, and how would I put it? It's a big burden for a child. Yeah.
For
So,
sure.
yeah, when you see that burden as an adult and you say to yourself, oh dear, did I actually survive all this? Am I an adult that's functioning after all that I've been through? And in that space, I also want to point out to people that there's this sort of story that, how does it go? The reporter is speaking to two men, and the father was an alcoholic. And separately, he's speaking to the man. He says to the man who's a drunkard, oh, how did you end up in this situation? You haven't got a job, or your life is very difficult. And he says to the reporter, oh, look at my father. Look at my example. Then he goes to the other brother and says to the other brother, you're so successful, and you've got a good family life, and you've got joy in you. And he says, well, look at my dad. He was so miserable. I wasn't going to end up like that. So if people can actually see that that's their spirit, if they can actually look at that and see that it's there available. But the guy on the left, he didn't actually have the wherewithal to pick it up. The
He
guy on
didn't
the right
see it.
did. Yeah.
It was so dark for him. He just couldn't see.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or he doesn't have that empathy for himself.
Yeah.
He goes, as you said about young people and alcohol, it's easier to go to the alcohol. And also, the other thing I notice as patients recover, that their anger towards their parents diminishes. And in actual fact, they've got empathy for the lack of growth in their caregivers, rather than the rage.
Right.
Like once the rage it seeps out, empathy comes up and forgiveness comes up. And
Very much so.
empathy. Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Right. I know, Rose, if you have to go, because it's on the hour.
I have to bow out now. Yes.
Maybe Kathy and I can finish up, but really,
But yes, Rose, that's a big part of a lot of my counseling growing up, and my desire to work with young women and women of all ages. What came out of a lot of abuse, and really giving them the courage, not knowing what I was going to be facing, but the courage and the strength to know you are worthy and you are good enough and worthy to battle this, whatever that battle is, for yourself. And you have so much to offer. And I think gosh, if we have not learned that after all of this.
Well, Kathy, I think, remember that Stockholm syndrome, where the person who's captive actually takes on the side of the captors. So that's what happens to us when we're not able to disconnect from the anger and the pain. Now, folks, I have to go, unfortunately. And it is so lovely having you, Kathy, and having you, Tova. Together, we just make a great team, don't we, Tova?
I know, we do. And so I'm going to begin my day, but thank you so much, Kathy.
It was so good to talk to you again. I can't wait to do it again with you.
Bye, Rose.
Bye.
Bye, Rose.
Kathy, stay here with me.
I'm staying on.
We can answer some more questions from the audience. So you can hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Kathy Chester. I just heard a phone, but it wasn't mine. Okay. So first of all, I wanted to comment that, you have a certain personality, and, I have a certain personality, and Rose has a certain personality. And I think that's also something I'm getting back to, just like how we have to just like, it's so hard to unconditionally do anything.
Right.
But
for sure.
to just be able to accept ourselves and accept, I did this little tape I sent around where, I I repeated this woman, this writer, Elizabeth Gilbert, who did this little chapter in one of her books, Eat, Pray, and Love. And she just talks about how she has to accept her grief and accept her shame and invite it in. And she invited her fear. And she was just like, but, oh no, she was like, oh, shame. Oh, no, shame. No.
Not ready to go there.
Yeah. And like, no shame. I love you. Come. I can accept all the things I've done. And, and it's like, if you can't embrace your humanness, and it's I could go and say, well, why wasn't I taught this in school?
Right.
It's just, it is what disease and stress, illness can teach you. It is what pain can teach you. Pain is not there to hurt you or bring you down. So it's like this, and there are people who just, it's hard for them to walk this road of this. They'll think, I'm so sugary sweet, I'm giving them cavities. And I'm like, no, I got here the hard way. It wasn't like it was easy.
Exactly.
But it is a place that I'm choosing to be in. It doesn't mean I don't worry. Like this morning, I was worried about coming on because I got up early for the first time in weeks, because Rose, we changed the time, and I was like, all worried. And, I was told years ago by my therapist, well, hug the little girl when you're worried. Because why am I so worried about nothing? Because I grew up in a chaotic household that who wouldn't worry?
Right,
so
right.
Like, to understand the connection. And I sat there in my bed, at 4:00 this morning. I was like, hug.
Yes.
You're awake. And what's the worst thing that happened? Kathy'd have to come on alone with her car, And so you don't have to get to be 63 to learn about this.
But so often, Tova, how many men do we see that are just now realizing, wait, there were some deep, deep wounds, and I'm not able to move forward. I'm giving examples. I'm realizing now that, this person may say to me, I understand now, I've been through this many marriages, thinking that this was all them, but now I can see that I need to work on this area. And I think that when we get to that place where we're willing to look at what do we need to work on to make us whole.
Responsibility.
Yes. And then that begins that journey of wholeness that we want. But it's the idea of the fear.
Right.
And we've got, two tribes of people that want to put the work in, and then are not really, I don't really want to do that much work.
Right.
So it's
hard work, but there's reward. Would you talk a little bit about in your life where maybe I use this concept a lot with our groups and thing. I mean, if we could respond to our falling, if we could respond to our anger, if we could respond to our pain, our sadness, as opposed to react.
Right.
That is out here and inside the body. Immune system has a direct beeline, a direct phone, red hotline to the nervous system. Can you talk more about that?
So when we feel, especially with, I'm just going to go into MS, but you feel that in lupus, rheumatoid, all of them. Mm-hmm. But when that stress, TMS, that stress comes up immediately, emotions, feelings, body parts, it's like, what's happening? Mm-hmm. Well, that stress brings everything up, the cortisol, all those levels, mm-hmm. and we're unable to function properly. Mm-hmm. Our bodies don't move right. I can hear somebody tell me, well, I was in a disagreement with my spouse last night, but we worked it out. I feel fine today. Mm-hmm. Did you? Mm-hmm. Because your face doesn't look that way. Mm-hmm. And so it's
really I feel fine. Everything's okay. Everything's okay.
I'm good.
I'm fine. So then what do you say?
Then I say, okay, John, are you okay? Did it all work out? Do you both feel mm-hmm. that you were able to speak and share and work through it? Mm-hmm. And for me, it's then stopping to say, I want you to think on this, journal it.
Right.
But now we have to move on to the movement part.
Right.
Because my heart's pulled, you know, in between. I want to counsel you
Right.
and help you, but I know that we have to get to movement, because on the other end of that is going to be a lot of joy.
Right.
When you can see what your body can do next.
Right. Right. And that's why I would love, you know, I bring in movement, even though some of the TMSers, you know, we don't want, I mean, not movement, but there, John Zarner talks about how you have to get back to your normal movement. And I don't like the word normal, but, you know, we have to live our life. We have to get into our life in a way that tells our brain, okay, that I'm okay. You know, I've got to get back to a little work. I've got to get back. I mean, sit in the car, whether you drive or not.
Right.
You know, like move back into your life because the science is, and I heard this with Joe Dispenza work. When you even act out a situation that maybe you can't do, but you go ahead and you know, go for a short walk, not a long walk, but you show
Right.
the immune system that you can do it. The immune system begins to believe it. This is how the body just is so, we are just so in control.
Absolutely.
So I even write, I want to walk, I want to move again, I want to dance again. And then I just
Yes.
do a few moves, or I imagine it, or I write about it, I journal. This is all just science.
I mean, Tova, I haven't run in over a year.
Mm-hmm.
I ran 3 miles tonight. I mean, Lance had to catch me a little bit, but that on my little almost fall. And I can tell you that, oh my gosh, the first time that we were, you know, in our early stages of dating, and I remembered I didn't say this to him. I was like, oh, I'll fall. So when I come in the finish line, I'll be all bloody, but don't worry. He was like, what? I'm like, bye, toodles. But, you know, I think, you know, we were way beyond my, you know, I'd already had MS for so long, and it was like, you know, you go through chemo, you do all that. I mean, you feel like Teflon woman. I could do anything.
Right.
But there is so much fear in the unknown, because MS, these autoimmune diseases, are so unknown and scary for so many of the clients and patients.
Right.
So I think to get right on to a session and be like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
They're not ready yet. Sometimes they are.
Yeah. How are you with patience with your clients? Like, have a lot of patience and compassion to show them the relationship. How is that for you when you might feel impatient?
I haven't felt that. I mean, there's been a couple clients through the years, you can imagine, that are difficult to work with. Mm-hmm. What I found, Tova, in my years of life, and now that I'm getting a little older, I realized that whenever I pray for someone and ask God, show me something that has got them so grouchy and crabby, help me to see what's going on with them, that they're behaving this way, so that I can then have empathy and compassion. Yeah. And God has never disappointed me with that.
Right.
And then I'm able to have that for those people who are difficult.
Right. And there's so much research. I mean, we're talking about the human body, which is an art. And, you know, we can always find some science to support any of the art. But the fact is, there is a lot of research, and a lot of our doctors and health professionals and authors, you know, are writing about, you know, bringing some kind of God into your life. It can be Moses, it can be Allah, it can be Jesus. I mean, they're all from the same cell, these masters.
My faith is definitely 100% has been what has gotten me through. I mean, the will, the strength, the faith in knowing that God has me, that if I fall, I know who's got me.
Wow.
And there's a safety in that, in my relationship with God, knowing that there's nothing that will touch me that he doesn't already know.
Right. So you never feel alone. Wow.
That's not totally true,
Okay.
and that would be lying to everybody watching.
Okay.
There is a fear. There is an abandonment issue with that, with any autoimmune disease. And I would say with that, there is an isolation. Sometimes we do it ourselves because we want to do something with others, but then it's that, well, how am I going to get home? And what if something happens in the middle of it? And then my body just, for lack of a better word, just takes a crap on me, and it just won't work. And so, you don't want to ruin everybody's time, let alone the people that you're going to go with.
Right.
So I remember in the years of my kids being younger, it was that constant anxiety, like, can I make it through, 4 sporting events, with these kids? And can I do this in the heat and all the things that we didn't quite understand about MS yet? So of course there are some real fears and anxiety that come with that.
Exactly. So listen, we're going to wrap up. I want everyone to know that I'm going to put this on the Facebook page for the next couple of days and send it around. It was really just such a privilege to meet with you in this manner, and let's do it again. I really want it. Not only that, I really want to get our class going. I think it's time. I think this was a opening up for what we can offer people. And, Rose can chime in sometimes and join our class, because I'd like to do it in the times that it's convenient for America, and we could talk about that. But our class will be, and comment on this, a place where people can share. Not so much, look, you can come in and there's sharing and whining. It's 2 different things. There's self-pity and there's like self-compassion. It's like, shit, I'm scared. I'm like, talk about it. Or like, wait a minute, like, I'm tired of this. Like, I can't.
Yes.
So again, I accept everything, but let's just, walk the talk, less talk, more action, because it's really just about a habit. We're creating new habits. We're creating new neurological pathways, new circuits. This is absolutely, hands down. And we're doing that with each show. It's like a new habit, a new way to understand ourselves.
Well, empowering.
Yeah, and no one's different. We're all the same. Like, we're really just human.
Right.
And none of us have not, we've all gone through our TMS. It's funny that MS is in there. Right. So I'd like to get that class going, which will be on a Zoom, probably as more of a Zoom platform. And we meet once a week, and we really, because everybody is going to perceive what you're saying different. They're going to perceive from their point of view. But let's color it Sue. Let's color it, John. Let's color it Robert, because find a way that you can relate to this. Let's find a way you can resonate. Don't keep yourself out there. Come close to us. So it can be, honestly, I'm just so excited to be teaching with you. So we'll be promoting our class soon. Disrupt autoimmune disease and chronic pain. That's right. And do you think you could just take your runners off for a little bit and just get down and meet me once or twice a week? You're so busy and I'm so busy, but let's make it happen.
Oh, yeah. And Rose, or I called you Rose now. Yeah. Tova, this has been a big, we just did a move and really revamped our business, which was crazy. But it opened up a space for me to not have that intensity of the gym. And let's face it, gyms look so much different now than they did. And honestly, that's not a part of what I want. Not that specific kind. Mm-hmm. I want a place where people that want to get better and whole and strong can come and do that. Whatever level you're at. Excellent. You may be at bodybuilding level, and let's go. Yeah. You may be at a level where I'm gonna begin to try to stand.
Yeah.
We're going through it together.
Well, the body is the gym. It's like your body is your gym. That's another way we can do our show. Like your body is your gym. And let's find a way where you can at least get one step every day, And so on that note, I'm going to wake up because it's now
You're going to wake up and I'm going to say goodnight.
I want you to say goodnight, but don't forget to stretch in the morning, those muscles, those hamstrings. And
yeah, that's one thing we'll do for sure is do some of that.
I know that some of the viewers sent in their questions, so I'm not seeing them on here, but they sent them in on earlier on because they knew I was coming on. Patty Clark. Hi, ladies. Just jumped in. October. Hope you are well. I heard there were some rockets flying over Israel.
Oh, no.
Oh, dear Patty. Let me just write to her. I'll just tell you, Patty, it's Jerusalem Day yesterday, and that's a little bit hot for some of the Palestinians. And,
right,
I'm about peace, love, and Woodstock. I'm about making love, not war. And so, the news is the news. There was some rockets in Jerusalem. And, what happens is like everybody goes into the shelters, and then after that, they come running out dancing. It's like
so you have to say things like this a lot.
It's a Kathy Chester all over Jerusalem.
Woo! We're going to have a dance party.
It's like, and, the Palestinians are not getting hurt. The Jews are not getting hurt. The children are not getting beaten. It's like, don't believe the news. This is not what's happening. The reality is that there are powerhouses in the control center, and a rocket is an expression. It's a very deal, So I'm not going to get into politics here because it's not my thing. I'm into healing.
Yes.
When it comes
we
down
won't go into politics. That's
scary.
All
people running these big countries, you know what? They're so traumatized as children, and this is the way they're expressing their fear.
Right. I'm going to terrify you now. It's like.
So anyway, that'll be another show. But Patty Clark, maybe you will join our class. Because Patty's had some.
We've got Dorothy.
Oh yeah, Dorothy. It is reassuring. It's fine. Don't worry. It's okay. But send a lot of love to the entire world.
Yes.
And that's why the adrenaline. Like the Joe Dispenza, who's just about this energy over the world. If I want to be peaceful with you, it vibrates into peacefulness. This is the place I don't really go with the sixth sense of when we're healing and we're powerful and we're feeling good, it vibrates.
Yeah, absolutely. And that you carry that spirit, and you have that. And I've often been told that if I'm in a room with someone that you bring in a joyful and a peaceful spirit. Yes. There's something about your aura.
Yes.
And and I think that's so true that when we're doing something like what we do with so many patients and clients that have so much pain. Right. It's so necessary that we have that.
Right.
And so
it's so true. And I was saying how there's all these, so I'm writing in not caps, I'm going to just say, please join Kathy and Dr. Tova have a Facebook group, our Facebook group. It's called
Disrupt.
It's called Disrupt. Talk again a few minutes about Disrupt.
Absolutely. So Disrupt came when I started to do my personal training. So years ago, I would do fun games with what I said. So when I talked about the run group, so when I was divorced, when I went through my divorce, it was, about 2 years before I felt like I need to do something but just work and raise the kids. I have to get out. So I looked up and I thought, what's the most fearful thing? Running with everybody watching me that don't know me. So let's do it. So I ended up meeting, I would say, my second family, and got very close. And it has been, so what we would do is play this game, and they knew, what I did. And I said, I need a name for my personal training, one that like just gets me. I've heard so many. This was before disrupt, was a word.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of the runners in the professional world, and one came to me and said, "There's a word that's going to be very big in a few years, and it's called disrupt."
Wow.
And I just want you to think on it for a while. So I wrote it down, thought about ways I would use it, thought about ways it would confuse people completely.
But sometimes it can be negative, but it's not
Right.
negative at all. Yeah,
No.
continue.
And so what I loved about it is, I would have these clients that would come in and do the same thing all the time. And they would say, nothing's changing. Nothing's changing. And I'm like, well, we're going to disrupt that, because our bodies are smart.
Right.
And if we're only doing running, let's say that's the thing we do every day. That's not going to make us healthy, whole, completely, because we have to use all of our muscles.
Right.
So in disrupt in fitness, it is disrupting the ways that you normally would do things, kind of tricking your body.
Right.
Disrupting in so many ways, disrupting your autoimmune disease, your MS, is, oh, you think you won? Let me disrupt you.
It's a power of the mind. It's a law of attraction. And this changes chemicals. And
they have the power.
Yeah, it's a language. It's a language. We're making up. This is really something, because I heard the word from Rose, which she uses in her psychotherapy work, and I was like, this is a strange word. And then I meet you, and I'm like, okay, but disrupt. It's like shift, move.
Exactly.
Like
shift your thinking.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So listen, we'll be in touch. I'm really, really hyped to get our class starting and to get you back on. I'm going to bring you and Lance back on our show in a few weeks, maybe in the summer, to talk about, living with a partner with an autoimmune disease, which becomes, again, becomes, he becomes your support system. He has to, and he also, I remember growing up, with my mom having MS, and it was like, nobody was taking care of me. It's like, you could take care of it. My mom could handle it, but so this is something else. And that's how we first met. I just want to say to the audience, you said to me in like a text, what's it like growing up with a mom with MS? And I was just like blown away that nobody's really asked me that for years. And that's
I'm so curious. Like, what is it? How did you become who you are with a mom with MS back then, when what you could do for it was so limited?
Right.
I mean,
I took it. I took my pain and my grief and my sorrow, and I channeled it, and I was disrupted in a lot of ways. In some ways I was stuck, but maybe when I can come on your show again, you can interview me about that topic.
Yes, I would love to do that. This would be a good one.
Sleep well. I love you. It's been wonderful.
I love you.
With you, and
wake up well. Enjoy the birds singing. Hopefully the bombs and whatever was going off last night.
That's okay. We have this like iron dome. It collects. It just says hot. I'll get the bomb and put it right here. And peace, love, and Woodstock. Make love, not war.
I like it.
I love you, sweetheart.
I love you. Take care.
Good morning to all of our viewers. We'll see you next week. Bye, dear.
Bye.
Okay, the stream is